I wanted to talk specifically about what's going on with the Boogex effect and how it's taking something stereo, converting it to mono, and then maybe possibly adding a little bit of stereo width to it again afterwards. So we're going to talk about that and then look at a much more advanced technique and concept that you might find really interesting and something that you never would have thought possible with just the freeware that we're using. So I'm going to bring in the OBXD here to start, and let's go ahead and turn this on. And I need to turn these guys off. This is going to be our example afterwards. And you know, with this instrument, we have the ability to throw this in here to a unison mode so that we're in mono, but we have 8 voices we can use. So we can really spread this instrument out, make it a stereo synth sound, something that we're all very familiar with if you listen to basically any kind of music. And we can just kind of push this out and make it even crazier. And let's just add a little bit of filter movement here. Okay, so we have a stereo sound. You can obviously spend more time getting that to where you want it. And let's just go ahead and push this out even further. Let's throw a chorus on here. Just going to go back and just increase the decay amount. Cool, so that's what I was kind of going for. So we have this chorus now. This is a very stereo sound. I can go in here and we can figure out just how stereo this really is. So there it is in mono. Stereo. We could even push this out further. But now if we go in here and we grab the Boogex, this is supposed to be like a guitar amplifier and cabinet simulator. And with a guitar, an electric guitar specifically, you only have, it's one thing, right? You only have one jack that you put in and you plug that in. It's a mono thing. You plug it into a mono amplifier and it comes out in mono, or at least typically that's the way it works, at least in the real world. In the computer, almost always you get the effect, or the option, I should say, to choose whether or not you want that guitar amplifier and cabinet simulator to be in mono or to be in stereo. So something like Guitar Rig, something like Amplitude, or Amplitube, I guess they call it. Both of those effects you can very easily configure to work in either mono or stereo. But with this effect, you can't do that. The grind machine, that is in stereo, which is kind of interesting because that effect to me would make more sense in mono. But if I bring in the Boogex here, you'll notice right away a huge sonic difference. Right, it's taken our sound and it's converted it to mono. Now we can go through here and choose some other. But unfortunately, no matter what we do, even if we go into the settings, as far as I know, there's no way to convert this into a stereo effect. So it's a mono effect right now. It's taking our stereo signal, pushing it in to be in mono. However, if I turn on the reverb, this by default is a stereo reverb. So now when I play this, you can hear that some stereoness is being brought back in, but that's specific to the reverb unit. And every reverb, at least every natural reverb, would be in stereo, because if you think about a space, no space is going to generate just a mono signal. It's bouncing off the walls, whatever that signal is, and it's coming back to your ears at different times. It's going to be in stereo. If I go in here and I throw on the tool, you'll notice if we now increase the width, it will make a difference. As compared to this being off, no kind of difference at all, just straight up mono right there. So the point I'm trying to make here is you're never going to be able to recover the original stereo nature of the sound you had before you brought in the Boogex. It's just impossible. However, what you can do, if you want to go a little bit crazier with this, or you want to try and push this back out wider, is that you can go in and use one of our mono to stereo effects. The chorus or the dimension expander. Both of those are going to take a mono signal, and then by creating very short delays, it's going to manage to put it into stereo, or at least alter the balance. So if we throw on the dimension expander now, and I should say specifically here, if we put this into a mono effect, we'll add a little bit of width from the reverb. Mono, totally mono. Back out into stereo. We can then turn on the reverb inside of the Boogex, going to give us even more stereo spread. And then to really push this out, we'll just use the tool device and then mess with that mono to stereo balance that we have with the width control. Oh man, that was sharp. I apologize. So very cool, right? Very cool, very simple. You could then go in and take this even further by like throwing on the delay, and we'll mess around with the shift control. So yeah, just play with the automation and you've got some really crazy sounds that I'm sure you never thought you'd be able to get with freeware. And then just to take this even one step further, I'll go ahead and just turn that off for now. I've gone on here and done an example where I've taken the OBXD, and just to cheat, I've used a note pitch shifter instead of going in and messing with the transpose there. I have a version that's in mono. And then I brought a version that's in stereo. So you can see with the mono version, I went through the Boogex, I then pushed the width all the way down, and then I created a stereo version without using the Boogex, and putting them together. And then the cool thing is we can group these guys, and we could put on something like a reverb to try and tie it all together. So this is how far you can go with it if you want. And that's kind of one of the advantages I find to having the Boogex, is that you can take the Boogex, you can put a signal into mono, but you can still maintain the original version in stereo, and then just kind of find a balance between them. And then as you're adding in additional parts and they're taking up different amounts of width in the spectrum, or you need something like a vocal to really be focused down the middle, you can always just pull back on the mono version. and really enhance what's going on with the stereo, full blown, about as wide as you can get version. All right, so I hope that's been helpful for you. I hope you're now looking at this in maybe a different way. And the real conclusion I think I want you to draw, not only from this section, but the course in general, is that, first of all, you're not going to find an instrument on the market that's going to be able to get you a sound like this. No matter how much money you pay, there's not going to be one instrument that can do that for you. This is just freeware, and we're suddenly now getting this really rich, really powerful sound because of our knowledge. We know how to apply the effects that we have. We've applied them, and when you push it really far, this is the sort of thing that you can come up with. So it's really more about using your brain as compared to, dropping a lot of money out of your wallet. That's really a big point I want to get across. And if you're just creative and you think about things and you experiment, really the sky's the limit, even with just some of these basic freeware plugins that we have access to. So I hope that this has been informative for you, and I look forward to coming back in the next section after you guys have made some tracks, and we're going to then start to talk about mixing those tracks even further. So thanks a lot for your attention, and until next time, take care.